What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, man. I hope you guys are having a great day. I hope you guys enjoyed Super Bowl Sunday. I hope it treated you well. Hope all your bets hit. Hope the food was good. Hope the camaraderie was good as well. At the time you are seeing this, it is Sunday night. It is right after the Super Bowl. For me, it is 3:30, so we are just over 3 hours till kickoff for the Super Bowl. The reason I'm filming this just before and dropping it just after is because we are ranking all 32 NFL teams heading into next year. The way too early, the classic list of way too early for these big leagues that comes out. And even for college, I think they do it sometimes. They do the top 25 though. And so I thought, let me put my own twist on it. I thought it would be a really fun exercise to kind of look at draft picks, look at potential free agent losings and signings of each team, and give you where I think they will be next year. And we're going to go 32-1. Obviously, like I said, this is before the Super Bowl. I am of the opinion whoever wins the Super Bowl gets the respect of number one and getting number one moving forward into next year's list until somebody takes them off of that throne. So I have two alternate innings filmed. I have one of the Kansas City Chiefs win, and I have one of the 49ers win. So a little sneak peek into the curtain of what happens when you run a YouTube channel, when you edit it all yourself and you know, pretty much do everything by yourself. So, spoiler alert, number one and number two are going to be a combination of Kansas City 1, 49ers 2, 49ers 1, Chiefs 2. So you will see that as the video goes on. Like I said, I had to film two endings, but 32 through 3 are completely unedited, full-on takes, who I think and where I think they will be as well. Also, a little bit later, probably into the next week, you're going to be seeing a potential free agent video, kind of just giving you who and where I think each person will go. That's a free agent. There's a pretty good free agent class this year, especially in the wide receiver class. And so I'm very excited about that. But let's dive straight into what today's video is about. 32-1. Let's get into it. Number 32, the Carolina Panthers, man. The Carolina Panthers have been the bottom feeder of the NFL for a couple of years now. They have a new GM. They have a new coach. The new head coach was the guy who kind of revitalized Geno Smith's career in Seattle. He also did the same thing for Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. So hopefully for Bryce Young, I do like him. He's a great young player. Obviously struggled. They do not have really any pieces around him that could help him out. The line is shaky. The defense is shaky. The run game is shaky. The wide receivers are shaky. And so there's not much you can ask for a young quarterback to do in that situation when all those key pieces are not playing well. Hopefully, though, like I said, the head coach that was able to turn those two careers around would be able to do the same for the young career of Bryce Young. But for now, they also don't have a first-round pick. And for now, they stick it 32. That hurts. Number 31, the New York Giants. The New York Giants put themselves in a hole that I think we all saw coming with the Daniel Jones contract. They also are probably going to lose Saquon Barkley this year with the way they treated him last year in the contract dispute. He is a free agent this year, I believe. I want to say unrestricted, but could be restricted because of the contract he signed. Not 100% sure, but there is a big chance that he leaves the New York Giants. Obviously, with the play of Daniel Jones before he got hurt was not that good. And then he gets hurt, and, you know, it's hard to tell what player comes back from an injury, what he looks like. So, for now, the Giants are sitting at 31. For a team that made the playoff 2 years ago and made the Vikings look like garbage on defense, that hurts. Moving on to number 30, the Tennessee Titans are most notably going to lose Derrick Henry and DeAndre Hopkins. They both were on the last year of their contract. DeAndre Hopkins, I think, signed a one-year deal. He's probably going to leave. If you saw Derrick Henry's last game in a Tennessee Titans uniform this past season, he did pretty much a goodbye on the middle of the field. And so he's definitely going to probably be leaving. Obviously, with the new head coach and different things like that, a lot of players that are free agents are going to be leaving. They're going to be clearing house. Will Levis did look pretty good, though. They have some pretty young pieces. That the running back is pretty good. The Treylon Burks has been a little up and down, but inconsistent, been injured as well, though. So they have some decent pieces, but just not a lot to really help them contend. Moving on to 29, the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are most notably probably going to be parting ways, or not probably, they're parting ways with Russell Wilson. It is just a matter of time. We will see what Sean Payton does to try and fill that role, whether he sticks with the backup or whether he says he sticks with the backup and then goes out, picks somebody in free agency. They do have a pretty talented roster. Obviously, they thought they were a little bit more talented than what they were when they made the trade for Russell Wilson. They thought they were a piece away. Obviously, there were some holes in that system. Jerry Jeudy played a little bit better down the stretch. Cortland Sutton, some guys on the offense and defense played very well. But don't see them going very far in the division they're in, especially with some of the coaching hires and things that you hear are going to happen in that division. Moving on to 28, Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are still going to be not the best team in the league. Obviously, Kyler came back at the end of the year, had some spurts where he looked like old Kyler, but didn't really play his best ball. Hard to ask him to do that. I do think that the head coach they hired last year was a really, really good hire. He was able to galvanize the guys when they knew the season was going to be a little bit of a lackluster one. Obviously had the run with Josh Dobbs. The defense played very well. James Conner played very well. And so I do think they're going to be okay heading into the future, but I do look for them to make a few key trades this offseason, whether to better their team or to get more assets for the future. I'm not sure which way they will choose to lean. But I do think overall, 28 is not a bad spot. Number 27, the Patriots. The Patriots have a top 3 pick in this first round draft of this year. The Patriots look to get probably a quarterback. Not probably. They're not going to stick with Mac Jones. Like they're not. Bailey Zappi has been a decent option for them. He played okay. They're in a bit of a weird spot though. They could try to trade up and get somebody like Caleb Williams or Drake May, but they're sitting at that 3 spot, and a lot of people are kind of assuming that Drake May and Caleb Williams will be the first 2 off the board. So they could wind up with somebody like Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, that's a really good pickup for them if they had someone to be able to be competent enough to throw him the ball. So I do think there's still a little bit of a lackluster team on the offensive side of the ball. The defense balled out last year, so that's something that they could really put in their back pocket and use if they get a competent quarterback running that offense. They do have a new head coach. They pretty much have a whole new offensive system and defensive, just system as a whole, offense and defense. Gerard Mayo is now the head coach of the New England Patriots. If you haven't heard, get out of the hole you're living in. Bill Belichick is not coaching this year. And so I do think that they made some nice steps in the future to continue the future to get better, get back to the old Patriot way. But overall, they just don't have enough to really compete. Moving on to number 26, a team we just said has a top 2 pick in the NFL draft. The Washington Commanders land at number 26. They land at number 26 because coaching hire and some of the people they have and some of the choices they've made just hasn't been things you see of a winning organization. I do not know why they hired Dan Quinn. Listen, Dan Quinn knows his way around a defense. We all know. Obviously, he struggled against the Packers in that playoff game. Didn't struggle, got his butt whooped. But obviously they wanted Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions. They didn't get him. They had to settle. When you settle for a head coaching hire, that's never a good thing to start your organization over with. I do think he'll be there for 3 years max, unless they get on a really hot start, really hot roll. Obviously, they are in the conversation for Drake May or Caleb Williams. They hired Cliff Kingsbury. And so obviously, as soon as that happens, the rumors start swirling around with Caleb Williams and them trading up to get him. I do think even if they get him, they will be a little bit better, but I don't think they have enough assets to move up to get him. So overall, I think they stay at 26. Moving on to 25, a team that Cliff Kingsbury was supposed to be coaching for, but he is now not, like we just mentioned. The Las Vegas Raiders sit at number 25. They do have a pretty decent draft pick this year. Don't know if any quarterbacks are going to be available. Don't know if they want to get somebody in free agency. But I think overall, they have a pretty good defense. Max Crosby is still a legit all-pro guy. Overall, I think they're going to be a decent team, but once again, they fall into that same category with the Denver Broncos. They're not going to be able to compete in the division with Jim Harbaugh and his Chargers and the reigning, Super Bowl champs before this video. Hopefully, I don't know if they win tonight, but at the time you're seeing this, the year before, they were the Super Bowl champs. So the Kansas City Chiefs are also in that division. Moving on to number 24. Coming in at number 24, we got the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings are a team that we wonder what's going on with the quarterback position. They are probably going to lose Kirk Cousins this offseason. Obviously, even if he comes back there, he's coming off an Achilles injury, which is never an easy injury to come back from, even in today's world of medicine and all the stuff that happened with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how well they're going to be able to fill that position. Jefferson, obviously, it's a big concern. People are saying that they might trade him, so that way they can't afford him. There's a lot of stuff going on in Minnesota right now that is being left up to air, and so overall, I think they're going to be a mid-team. Moving on to number 23, we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Pittsburgh Steelers now have hired Arthur Smith as their offensive coordinator. Obviously, a Mike Tomlin-led team is not going to go under 500. They're going to be mid at best. Obviously, there have been rumors about the quarterback position, what they're going to do, if they're going to bring in a veteran to challenge Kenny Pickett. There has been said, Mike Tomlin did say that there's going to be quarterback competition regardless this season, this upcoming season. And so we'll see what happens, but with Arthur Smith's run game and the two running backs they have, I think they're going to be at least going to be able to compete a little bit more than they did last year. So they move up a couple of spots of what I would have had them without that hire. Moving on to 22, the New York Jets. The New York Jets do have Aaron Rodgers coming back this offseason. He's had a chance to play at the end of the year, so he's pretty healthy. He's going to be able to have a full offseason of getting back into shape, getting that Achilles really healthy. But they have to focus on the offensive line. I'm worried about that offensive line. I think we all are. If they don't get it fixed, they're going to be a lackluster team, to say the least. Again, they do have some key pieces coming back. Obviously, a very, very, very young team. Very good defense, very young on the defensive and offensive side of the ball. But the offensive line is something you have to have when you have an older quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who's coming off an Achilles. And so for me, they set it 22 just because of the uncertainty, and the way they ran their organization last year scares me just a tad. Moving on to 21, we got the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears do have the number 1 overall pick this year at this time. I do think they probably take Caleb Williams and trade Justin Fields. Or they could take, they could just keep Fields and take somebody else like Marvin Harrison Jr. or somebody else who they see fit to take with the number 1 pick. I think they're a pretty good position right now. They have some pretty decent cap space. I think if they get somebody like Caleb Williams, or if they believe in Justin Fields and get somebody like Marvin Harrison Jr., that is a very big step in the right direction. The defense was played really well towards the end of the stretch after making the acquisition from the Commanders. And so I think overall they're in a little bit of an easier conference, obviously with the Packers and the Lions being two heavy favorites in that conference. They might have a chance to make the playoffs, maybe. But overall, I think they set at 21. And then at 20, we got the New Orleans Saints. New Orleans Saints, in my opinion, are going to finish a little bit lower on this list, a lot lower on this list. I am a New Orleans Saints fan. If you have not seen my videos before, unfortunately, I am. Derek Carr is going to stink. Just going to let you know now. Alvin Kamara is not going to be happy with the way the offense is being ran, even with a new offensive coordinator from the 49ers. He's not going to like it. The offensive line is trash. The defense is old. Michael Thomas is going to get hurt Game 5. So I am looking for them to finish probably bottom, even further on the bottom than 20 at the end of the year. But for right now, fully healthy, they have a decent team. But I say fully healthy, lackluster, because it's not looking good to be a Saints fan. Moving on to 19, a team who has pretty much the opposite of the Saints' issues, and they're in the same division, the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons have a very high draft pick, number 9, I believe, overall. They're probably going to get a pretty good quarterback out of that. Obviously, he's a rookie, but going to be better than Heineke and Ritter and whoever else they throw in there. They've got a lot of talent on the offensive, defensive side of the ball. They're going to be a really good team if they can get that quarterback spot right, and I think they will this draft, probably with somebody like Jaden Daniels, who's coming out of LSU, which is going to hurt a lot of Saints fans' hearts to see that. There's a lot of good quarterbacks. They could get Penix. There's a lot of good quarterback options out there at that number 9 pick, and I think they're going to use that on that. They're probably going to win the NFC South. It's going to be them and the Bucs kind of going back and forth. The Saints and Panthers are going to fall behind in my prediction very quickly. On to a team who definitely had high expectations last year but failed miserably, the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars do have free agent and Calvin Ridley, who's probably going to sign back there. Obviously, he came there for a reason, a pretty big number on his contract. Trevor Lawrence did battle a lot of injuries down the stretch. Still no excuse, though, with the way that team was set up to play. They have really good players on the defense and offensive side of the ball. Travis Etienne balled out. He's such a good running back now that he's healthy. And so they definitely failed expectations this past year. But I look for them to bounce back and be a little bit better. I think in that division, obviously the Texans look now like they're going to be the front runner. You got the Colts, who have Anthony Richardson coming back, who could be a force to be reckoned with. With the way he started off, he looked really well. And then Jaguars, they were supposed to be the guys to run that division, but now with the two young guns coming back, It's going to be a little bit harder, but I think there'll be some good competition there. Moving on to number 17, we got the Seattle Seahawks. The Seattle Seahawks just hired the guy from Baltimore. I can't remember his name. The defensive coordinator. They were in rumors to be with Dan Quinn and oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name. And the previous head coach of Tennessee, I don't know why I can't remember his name right now. Somebody comment his name right now so that way I can get it. But I do think overall they're going to be a little bit better. They do have a draft pick to where there can be questions whether or not they're going to take a young guy to lead that team. Obviously, Metcalf and Jackson Smith and Njigba are really young wide receivers. Decaf not really young, but still young enough to be able to make some noise and a good playoff team. And so I think that overall they're going to be a solid team. They might make the playoffs, but they're in the division with the Rams and Seahawks, and so that's going to be a little bit harder for them as well. Moving on to number 16, we got the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are probably going to re-sign Baker Mayfield. There's been a lot of stuff that we've heard from him that kind of sounds like he's coming back. They have Mike Evans, who is a free agent. There is some rumors that he could be going elsewhere, somewhere like Buffalo or Kansas City. That's going to be lethal if he goes there. But I think overall the defense still played really well. They have a good young running back down there. Baker Mayfield played really well. And so I think they are probably the front runners to lead the division of the NFC South. Moving on to a team who's probably going to be second in their division, the Indianapolis Colts. Like we mentioned when we talked about, who was it? Who were we talking about? The Jaguars. When we talk about the Jaguars, we talk about Anthony Richardson. Obviously, he's coming back. His first, I think he played 5 games. Obviously, he took some a lot of scary hits. He's going to have to learn how to protect himself. But I think overall he's played really well. Jonathan Taylor missed a lot of games this offseason. Michael Pittman Jr. I do think is a free agent as well, so they're going to have to retain him. Maybe get Anthony Richardson some more passing help. Obviously, the offensive line is amazing. The defense was a little bit lackluster, but they do have some guys on that side of the ball that could really play very good ball. And Shane Steichen did a great job. I think he's going to be a great coach for the foreseeable future. Moving on to the 14th spot, a team who I think is probably going to finish second in their division just because they're in the Chiefs division, the Chargers. The Chargers did hire Jim Harbaugh, which is a really good acquisition. They have a quarterback who a lot of people think is a top 10 quarterback, talent-wise, Justin Herbert. They are very old. The wide receivers they have are very old. Quentin Johnston was a guy who they drafted in the first round and has been so far a bust. He's had a problem with drops. Let's just be honest. He's not catching the ball very well at all during the last season. And so I think overall, if the coaching is the really thing that matters for the Chargers. I think they have a lot of talent on the offensive, defensive side of the ball. Like I said, they're a bit older, but I think Jim Harbaugh is going to try and leave his mark on that team like he does with all of his teams. He's had success everywhere he goes, so it's hard to believe now with a roster full of talent that he's going to fail now. Moving on to the other LA team, we got the Los Angeles Rams. I think overall they played very well. Matthew Stafford could still sling the pill. Cooper Kupp dealt with some injuries, but played decent for the games he was in. Puka Nacua is a star. Kyron Williams is a star. Future stars, both of those guys. They have some guys on the defensive side of the ball as well who played very well. They made the playoffs, obviously lost to the Lions, but I think they're going to be pretty consistent playoff team for the next couple years for a team that what we had expectations of tanking and getting a restart, hitting the restart button. Overall, I think that the 13th spot for them is very good. Moving on to a team who is just really weird to try and rank. They have a very talented defense. The quarterback position is a bit of a question. The run game has been really good. It's the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are clearly in a division with a lot of heavy hitters. The Ravens, the Bengals when they get back healthy. The Steelers are never a team to be reckoned with. The quarterback position is obviously a big question with Deshaun Watson. The defense played really well. They have the reigning defensive player of the year now with Myles Garrett. Obviously, Nick Chubb's going to be coming back. The run game still looked very good even without Nick Chubb. Obviously, they went through 6 different starting quarterbacks and still made the playoffs. They got blown out by the Texans, but it's going to happen. The magic run they were having was going to come to an end regardless, I think, no matter who they played. And so if Deshaun Watson can come back healthy, I think, though, a lot of people are not talking about this, is the fact that during the games, the last couple games he played, and the game where we found out he broke his shoulder or something with his shoulder. I forget the injury off the top of my head, but he played really well. Like he was finally getting back into rhythm, and unfortunately he got hurt. Obviously with the 2 years off of all the allegations and stuff, and then finally getting back into play, and you get hurt like that. That's almost 3 years off of football. Hopefully for him, he can get back to it and get back to the Deshaun Watson we saw. I don't know if that's ever going to happen now, but right now I think overall they sit at the 12th spot. Moving on to the 11th spot. A lot of people are going to get mad at this, especially if there's any Cowboys fans out there, but it's the Cowboys. Cowboys, to me, I know I had probably had them a little bit high in the power rankings that were there that I did on the channel, but they keep saying this every year. They're going to go all in. They're going to go all in. This is the year. This is the year. It's never the year. I don't care who they get. I don't care what the circumstances are. They're not a top 10 team. I'm sorry. The defense is they're a good team. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, what can you say about the Cowboys that hasn't already been said? You know what I mean? And so, to me, I don't think they beat a team that I have in front of them on this list next year with some of the things that are, some of the players that are coming back and the free agents we are hearing that are coming to supposedly coming to some of these teams. And so, yeah, they make it just out of the top 10 for me. Moving on to the top 10 now. Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals are a team who almost made the playoffs with Jake Browning in as their starting quarterback. The defense played really well down the stretch. Offensive line has played a lot better. Obviously, T. Higgins is a free agent, so we will see what happens with him. But I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to be able to franchise tag him and keep him there if he doesn't want to stay there. I think he wants to stay there. I think he likes Cincinnati. I think he likes playing with Jamar. I think he likes playing with Joe Burr. And so I think overall they're a top 10 team. They're going to be back. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the AFC. I'm a personal fan of the Bayou Bengals, man. Moving on to number 9, we got the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins pretty much are going to have the same team back next year, a little bit healthier. Obviously, the defense fell apart because of all the injuries that they had. Tua had a full year of starting games, healthy, didn't miss a game. That's a big, big, big thing for them. I do think, obviously, they have a little bit of issues in big games, but I think they'll be able to add the right people and pieces around them to kind of push them over the edge in this offseason. So for me, they sit at 9. Moving on to 8, a team I think might be a little high, you guys might be a little upset with, but I have the Philadelphia Eagles at the number 8 spot. I do think Jalen Hurts is a player who I liken to Jason Tatum, who when he plays good, it's just supposed to be, yeah, that's how he's supposed to play. It's no big deal. But when he sucks, everybody hates him and he's trash and all this other stuff. So I think he gets too much hate and not enough love when it comes to Jalen Hurts. I do think A.J. Brown's still coming back. Obviously, Devontae Smith's still coming back. They have a great run game. They went away from it for some reason, maybe the offensive coordinator spot. They did get a new offensive and defensive coordinator. They're going to have to do some work on that defense. Obviously, do some work replacing the center position, which we think is going to need to happen because of Jason Kelce retiring. They have some other guys who I think as well are going to need replaced. Obviously, Bradbury on the defense. But I think overall they're still a really talented team, really good team, and I don't see them dropping much further. Moving on to number 7, we got the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are a team who's very similar to the Miami Dolphins, where they have trouble beating, well, they're really not. They don't have trouble in big games. They just have trouble beating the Kansas City Chiefs. And to be fair, who doesn't? Who doesn't have trouble beating one of the greatest teams that we've seen in some time? And so Josh Allen is coming back. Stephon Diggs supposedly is coming back. Obviously, there was some trade stuff happening, and, he's always in trade rumors anyway. Gabe Davis is a free agent, but I think he'll come back. The 2 tight ends they have are really good. The defense probably needs a little bit of retooling. Obviously, they're going to get a lot of guys back from injury who are really key pieces in that defense, so that's going to be exciting for them. So I think they stick at number 7. Moving on, number 6, 5, and 4 are teams who I think are going to be pretty interesting to talk about. Number 6, the Green Bay Packers, man. I had the Packers a top 6 team. The Green Bay Packers are going to be able to retool a lot of stuff on the offense, get another year under Jordan Love's belt, get another year under the defensive belt. They have a new defensive coordinator. They have a new, I think they have a new offensive coordinator as well, or I might be tripping. I know they have a new defensive coordinator. They're going to be good. They're going to be fine. They're going to come back with a vengeance. I think maybe A.J. Dillon is a free agent. That's not a big deal. They still have Aaron Jones. They'll probably get somebody to back him up. Obviously, the offensive line is probably going to get a little bit more healthier. I knew they were out a couple people as well towards the end. David Bakhtiari has been someone we haven't seen in quite some time. But another year under the rookie receivers' belts, another year under Jordan Love's belt, I think they're only going to get better. And somehow, some way, Green Bay has done it again. Moving on to number 5, we got the Houston Texans, man. The Houston Texans being a top 5 team in the NFL is pretty cool. I won't lie. I love CJ Stroud. I'll never forgive the Saints for not taking him when they could have had the chance of tanking and trading some picks away to get him. So that one hurts, but I'm happy to see him doing well. Him and Will Anderson both swept the Offensive and Defensive Rookies of the Year this past award show. So that was really fun. DeMeco Ryans is a heck of a coach. They're going to be a really fun team to watch. And so they land at number 5 for me. Moving on to number 4. Should be no surprise here. It's the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions pretty much bring their exact same core back to the NFL season that is coming up. Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jahmyr Gibbs, Montgomery. The defense is stacked. The offense is stacked. Now, there will be some craziness about Dan Campbell and he needs to be fired and da-da-da-da. Relax, okay? He's one of the best coaches in the NFL. Look what he did for the city of Detroit. Look what he did for the, morale of that city, the morale of that team. He's completely changed expectations for that team. They're the brand new Lions for a reason. And so if you think that he should be fired, you're a bozo and just relax. It's the dumbest thing ever. Moving on to number 3, the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens have had a really fun time, or a really good time building this team up. The defense is stacked. The offense is stacked. Lamar just won MVP. They do seem to have some of those things the Miami Dolphins has, to where it's, a little bit of shakiness in big games. That is a big problem for them. But Lamar did win a couple games in this postseason. Obviously falls short in the AFC Championship to the Kansas City Chiefs again. No shocker. And so I do think they're going to be back. They're going to be better. They're probably going to add some free agent wide receivers around Lamar, keep getting him help, keep getting better. Obviously, they lost some key running backs. They did sign Dalvin Cook. He didn't play much. Keaton Mitchell should be back and better than ever after an injury. And so I think they stay at number 3. And on the number 2, we got the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers fall short in the Super Bowl. And unfortunately for them, another year falling short. Brock Purdy and that whole storyline doesn't get finished in the correct way. Kyle Shanahan now faces more questions about whether or not he can get it done in the big game. And so do the rest of those players on that team. Unfortunately for them, they're caught in this weird dichotomy of being a really good team, but just can't finish. So what happens whenever you're going to have to start thinking about paying Brock Purdy and different things like that? Obviously, they're set for now. I think they have another year for another couple years for Brock Purdy, so it's nowhere near over for them. They are a top 2 team in the NFL for sure. And moving on to number 1, your Super Bowl winners, the Kansas City Chiefs. They go back to back finally after losing the last time they had the chance to. Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. The duo between him and Kelsey is going to be a legendary one for years to come. We hope at least it has been for a while. Hall of Famers, best at their position, and they are the number 1 team in the NFL. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, man. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I know it's a little bit longer, a little bit more cut up, a little bit more edited. Had to be that way just because of how long it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button. Make sure to turn on all post notifications and hit me up in the description below. All my social media is down there. TikTok's been blowing up. Everything's been going good, so I appreciate the support. If you're here from TikTok, leave a comment, leave a like, everything like that, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.